I saw Craig the Snake talk about this on Side Scrollers, and I immediately exited the video. I didn't even have to like. I didn't even have to watch to see like what he had to say because it's the same thing these people have been saying for like decades at this point. Like, oh, I'm done with Nintendo. Oh, they're an evil corporation, and yet like you have video titles like this. I'm done with Nintendo, and yet you still inexplicably keep talking about Nintendo, almost as if this isn't based on any real genuine feeling or like mentality or like how you like genuinely feel about the company. It is just clickbait. And I really do like want to emphasize this, like whenever I talk about this kind of like content going forward, is that these people are just grifters, okay? Always have been, always will be, and that's true for basically everyone I've seen criticizing the Switch 2 at this point in time. It is just a gigantic cope to cater to terminally online internet weirdos who just obsessively hate Nintendo. So yeah, let me preface this. Fuck Steam, fuck PlayStation, fuck Xbox, fuck mobile. Like I don't care about any of these platforms. Like you have to stop. Okay, Nintendo's won, and they are going to continue to win into the future. Like I have never seen a genuine, like authentic, like criticism of Nintendo in my entire life. That was not rooted in some like weird anti-Nintendo conspiracy. Like it just they just don't exist. Okay, like the only people I know who hate Nintendo are people who don't know anything about the company at all, and that's been a reoccurring thing since I was a kid. So let's see what
And
this individual has to say.
honestly, I wish I could say I was excited. I really,
Ah!
really wanted to be excited.
Yeah, sure! Sure! Yeah, you're gonna sit there smiling like, oh, I wish I was excited. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, no! Like, I don't believe you! Like, oh. Yeah, already, like, it's just like, these people, they're all the same.
Excited. Like many 90s babies, I grew up on Nintendo. They were my very first gaming love. And not just the games, but the feeling of them. The wonder, the warmth, the way they pulled you into a world and made it feel like home. Ocarina of Time was the one that really awoke something in me. That opening in Kokiri Forest.
So we're at the point where like we've moved past like the NES boomers and like the Super Nintendo boomers, and now we're like seeing N64 boomers. Like, oh man, Nintendo was so much better when I was a kid. Like, come on. Like, when are people going to realize that like fans aren't the ones nostalgia blinded? Like these people are. You know, the idea that like, oh, Nintendo, they were so different when I was a kid. No, they weren't. Like, they were putting out good games then, and they're putting out good ones now. Like, nothing has changed.
With the Deku Tree, riding Epona across Hyrule Field, it all felt so massive. Like a real world was tucked inside a little cartridge. And then Majora's Mask came along, and my little self had never felt such anxiety. That eerie moon, the ticking clock, the emotional side quests that made you care so much in so little time. It was
Wow, kind of like Tears of the Kingdom, huh?
the very first game that made me feel something beyond just fun. It was sad, confusing, kind of strange at times, and very deep. It wasn't just Zelda. I was obsessed with Super Mario 64, running wild through Peach's castle, jumping into paintings, discovering every secret star. That game felt like true freedom. And then there were classics like Kirby's Dream Land, Yoshi's Story, Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, all these games are getting like they have new releases today or like relatively recently or like again like what's changed is like my mindset like watching this like has Nintendo stopped producing new Mario games? Have they stopped producing new Donkey Kongs? Have they stopped producing new Zelda games? Like no. Like that's kind of my mentality looking at this is that like she is a nostalgia blinded boomer.
Star Fox, Metroid Prime, all completely different and wonderful in their own way. And every one of them had a vibe, a soul, that Nintendo spark that made it feel like you weren't just playing, you were being let in on something very special. And then my parents bought me the original DS, and just like that, the whole thing was cracked wide open for me. That's how I found Animal Crossing Wild World, and I was hooked. I spent hours in that little village, rearranging furniture, writing letters, fishing for red snappers, and visiting my best friend's town during our weekly sleepovers. Even now, just hearing the soundtrack makes me very emotional. It takes me right back to those quiet, cozy afternoons after school, all curled up with that clunky silver DS with nowhere else that I needed to be. Truly the epitome of nostalgia. I didn't know it then, but those games were helping to shape how I saw everything.
Yeah, the fact that she's showing Palworld footage really should tell you where things are going here. Oh, man. Like, oh, man, Nintendo used to be good.
Stories, characters, even myself, and for a while it really felt like Nintendo understood how to make something that mattered. And it didn't stop there. I basically owned.
What are you talking about? Something that mattered? Like, it's a video game console. Like, you're really not beating the allegations. Like, she's just blinded by her own nostalgia.
Every major Nintendo console, starting with the N64, GameCube, Wii, DS, 3DS, even the Wii U, which, in my humble opinion, was ahead of its time, by the way. But I owned all of them, and
yeah. So amazing. So we're at the point where like you're gonna see people try and like glaze the Wii U to try and like downplay the Switch. That's how like desperate these people are. Is just like, wow.
The Switch was announced.
Unbelievable.
Breath of the Wild. I was beyond excited. Like, very cringely crying at the announcement trailer excited. As a Zelda fan, it was everything I'd ever wanted in a game, and to this day, it is still one of my favorites. That launch brought back so much of the old magic, which is probably why I held on for so long, and I even wanted to work for them. Like, genuinely. I applied to corporate Nintendo PR jobs probably 15 to 20 times.
Yeah.
Not even exaggerating. Back in 2019, I was pursuing PR, and when I got the opportunity to go to E3 that year, the very last E3, by the way, I actually spoke with a Nintendo PR team in person. It was magical. The Nintendo section of the event was so overwhelming and electric, and I remember.
So she's upset about not getting hired because she had no credentials, and now she's seething about them online. Yeah, this is why PR didn't hire you, because you're a YouTuber who seethes about the company online. Like, you'll never work for them. Like, what?
Thinking, this is it. This is what I want. This is what I want to be a part of. So please hear me out. What we are about to discuss isn't coming from someone who's out to bash Nintendo.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Like, you're showing Palworld footage. Like again, this is what I'm talking about when I use the term pretendo, right? Because they always do this, like where they do this thing like, oh, I have this long history with the company, and I've played this game when I was growing up, and I wanted to work for them, and I did this, and then they like go into like their actual point, which is like completely pants on head retarded, and like can't be taken seriously at all. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I call people pretendos. Like, this is exactly what I mean.
Genuinely, wholeheartedly, even at times very cringely, loved Nintendo. And
Cringe.
And really believed in what I thought they stood for. But over
What?
time,
What do you mean thought they stood for? They're a video game company. They produce video games. Like, what else do you want them to do? Like, what do you mean? What do you want them to do? Like, it's...
Maybe Nintendo,
especially when you're like showing Palworld footage, like, oh man, Nintendo, they're going after plagiarized assets. Like, of course they are. They always have. Like, this isn't new. Like, what are you talking about?
Isn't the company I thought they were. What I've seen over the last few years is that my nostalgia goggles have been working overtime, and they've kept me from really seeing the true nature of a company.
What is she talking about? What is she talking about?
It's held so dear to my heart. So, let's dive in And let's start with the release of the Switch 2. It's officially out now, and sales are booming.
Yep.
Records are being broken.
So like all these people, all these grifters, like spurging out about the price point, about the games, yeah, completely and utterly like fell flat on its face. Like not a single person agrees with the online gaming community. It's been like a really telling like launch, I think, where it just goes to show you just how out of touch like the internet community actually is, where they actually thought that this release would go poorly. It was just never going to happen. And yet, like, you had so many people who seriously thought this thing would be like some kind of a disaster. And even now, you see people like bending over backwards to try and pretend it somehow is.
And over 3 million units were sold worldwide on release day. People are also loving Mario Kart World, and I'm genuinely very happy for them. Yes, the game looks like a lot of fun. I just wish I felt something, because more than anything,
Yeah, maybe if you actually bought the console and played the games, you would be more excited for it. You know, that's kind of my mentality when looking at these people is that like, oh, I'm not gonna buy the console because of this, and this. I'm not excited for it. Like, you know what? Like, I wasn't super excited for Switch 2 when I saw it, right? Because I thought it was like kind of boring, uninspired, derivative, like kind of upgrade to the Switch. But now that I've actually own it, like, yeah, I've gone like a complete 180. Like I kind of felt that way too. Like again, sometimes you don't know how much you're going to enjoy something until you like take a chance and try it. And for a lot of times when it comes to these kind of people, like you don't really see them take that risk. You don't really see them, buy a Switch 2 or like, talk about any of these games because like, well, I'm not interested in that, but like you haven't played it. You don't know anything about it or the developer or like the history of the franchise. Well, I just don't want to play it. Like you see this like all the time when it comes to these, especially when it comes to JRPGs, actually. It's a really like it's a reoccurring issue with Nintendo in a lot of ways where like you just have these people who will just religiously like just refuse to support their hardware. And it is a cultural thing. Like it's very much ingrained in our culture to like think that like Nintendo is like out to get you and that they're some evil corporation. And that's kind of what this broad is trying to tell us. Like, oh man, I've seen the light. I understand that Nintendo sucks now. And it's just like, no, you're just appeasing the anti-Nintendo mob, the people who watch videos on YouTube instead of playing games, like you're not a credible source of information, especially since you don't even own the platform. That's kind of my mentality on it. Like, if you don't even own a Switch 2, like, why would I ever take what you have to say about the console seriously? It's just
I just feel tired. At
tired.
$450 or $500 if you get it bundled with Mario Kart World, this doesn't feel like a celebration of the next chapter. It feels like Nintendo seeing how far they can stretch our loyalty, how much they can charge us for something that isn't even.
Like, they are charging standard retail. Like, I don't understand what's so difficult to understand about this. Like, it's not significantly more expensive than other pieces of hardware. It's not more expensive than other games. $80 is the standard MSRP now. Like, she's like, there's this weird mentality that like only Switch 2 games are $80, and it's just like it's just straight up like not true at all. And that's become apparent over like the past couple of weeks, especially. But like, I just don't understand this cope that like this idea that like it's too expensive. Like, man, my watch like costs about as much as a Switch. Well, like 400. Yeah, I paid like 400 for my iWatch. So yeah, like about $50 less. Like I paid $400 for a watch. Okay, like that isn't like too expensive. Like you don't see people like batting an eye like paying like $1,000 for a phone or like anything else that they pay for. Like tablets are like what 2,000. Computers or like more than that. Like why exactly is a Nintendo console being like $450 like such a huge issue? And like the reason is like at its core is that like people like this, the general gaming community, like the plebs, like they genuinely believe that like Nintendo consoles and its games are like lower value and should be like sold for like nothing. So like Sonic goes for like what, like significantly lower prices because Sonic is a weaker brand. Um, so like the mentality is that like Nintendo should lower themselves to Sega's level and they should just leave the console industry, and that just isn't true at all.
even new, just a little bit newer. And listen, I'm not here to crap on Mario Kart. I actually really like Mario Kart. I do. It's one of those comfort games that's always been there and it's attached to so many fond memories of playing with friends and family. But even though it looks fun, when that's the flagship title for a brand new console launch, I don't know. I personally
What are you talking about? Like, what is with these people? Like, oh, there's only one game at launch. Like, first of all, that's not true. And second of all, like, it's a video game console. There are new games confirmed. We're going to get a new Nintendo Direct soon. Like, who is she trying to fool? Like, who are these people, like, speaking to, really? Like, oh, Mario Kart isn't enough. Like, yeah, but new games are coming out later. It doesn't make any sense. I can tell you, as someone who's, like, been playing, like, I own like what, like six games on Switch 2 right now. I put 10 hours, at least 10 hours, into like pretty much everything. In Mario Kart, Fantasy Life, Hitman, Street Fighter 6. Yeah, those four I've put like over 10 hours into. Like most people are not gonna put that much time into a new video game console like that first couple of weeks, right? Like for most people, like Mario Kart World was fine. Okay, maybe like maybe something else if they were like wanting to experiment with like Street Fighter or Hitman or Fantasy Life or whatever. But like generally speaking, Mario Kart World is a game that's going to last like hundreds of hours, going to be endlessly replayable, like going to be a lot of fun, like yeah, Mario Kart World was a great launch title and like, is more it has proven itself to be more than capable of selling consoles. And yet this individual doesn't want to admit that that's the case. Like, oh, it's not enough. Well, okay, but then pick up a Switch 2 when Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out. Like, who are you trying to fool?
personally just couldn't get behind the hype. It feels kind of boring, safe, predictable. Nintendo is
Okay, I get it. She's showing Palworld footage because she's actually talking about Palworld. She thinks Nintendo made that game. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, suddenly it all makes sense now.
asking, hey, what's possible here? They're asking, what can we get away with? Because $80 for Mario Kart World, that's not just a new number. It's a shift in how this industry treats its players. And what surprises me, even though it shouldn't at this point, is that it's Nintendo, of all companies.
Other companies are selling horse armor DLC. Other companies are selling you costumes in games. Like this is so out of touch with like the general state of the industry. Like Fortnite, the battle pass system, you know, this is so out of touch with like how the industry in general like actually works that like it's kind of shocking. Like she really is acting as if like, uh digital deluxe versions that DLC, that like microtransactions aren't prominent, like a mainstay on like from other developers. Like she really thinks that like Nintendo consoles, the Nintendo that Mario Kart World at $80 is more expensive than something like Street Fighter 6 at 60. Like she doesn't understand that like Street Fighter 6 has DLC, that it has microtransactions, that it has all these hidden fees that aren't evident in like the initial price tag. Like while Nintendo doesn't really have any of that. Like she doesn't understand like how this industry is kind of misleading. Like again, it's kind of remarkable, really. But anyway,
Ushering in this new pricing standard. This wasn't them reluctantly following a trend that
yeah.
I know was inevitable.
What's she talking about? Reluctantly following a trend? Like, what are you talking about? Like, things are getting more expensive. What are you talking about? Yeah, everything else is getting more expensive, but Nintendo should stay the same price just because they're Nintendo. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they do that? Like,
But this was them leading the charge, setting a precedent, establishing.
no, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. Like, developers were already talking about raising prices before this happened. They were always going to do this when Grand Theft Auto 6 came out. You know, that's always been like the intention was that they were going to use Grand Theft Auto 6 to normalize higher price points and then like just raise prices for everything else, right? Nintendo is just doing what everyone else is doing, right? Like they were very open about this that they were going to raise prices again. Like they are bleeding money. They are not like doing well at all. Like they have to do it in order to like maintain their profit margins. Like Nintendo is just being competitive with everyone else because it's not going to be good for them. Like I saw this happen during the Wii era, actually, because they were selling Wii games at like a lower price point than Xbox 360 games, PS360 games. Like the narrative was always that like, oh, Nintendo's the cheap brand, they're the derivative brand, like they're not a premium brand, they don't compete with PlayStation and Xbox. And that's kind of the mentality of this is that like they have to keep the standard with like other companies because they are competing with them. You know, it would not make any sense for them to sell their games at a lower price point and then like have Grand Theft Auto like get away with selling games at like $100 a pop or whatever. Like it doesn't make any sense.
$80 as the new normal, and not with some expansive, genre pushing new experience, but with an exact game formula that we've literally seen 16 times.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, tell me you haven't played Mario Kart World without telling me you haven't played Mario Kart World. Oh, it's not innovative enough. It doesn't change enough. Yeah, you haven't played Mario Kart World.
At this point, and it makes you ask why. Because meanwhile, I'm looking at games like Helldivers 2, Hi-Fi
No,
Rush,
shit,
Rise of
shit, shit. Like Hi-Fi Rush, like Tango Gameworks literally went out of business. Like what an example. Like unbelievable. By the way, these are all lower budget games from smaller studios anyway. But like she is really gonna come out here and use Hi-Fi Rush as an example of like some major success story in gaming when like the developer literally went out of business like a couple of years after the fact. After all that shilling, all that hype, all that praise, oops, Tango Gameworks no longer exists. Like it's just it was embarrassing seeing people like this try and like prop up Hi-Fi Rush as some like big relevant thing and yet like yeah, it tanked, and now we have these same people like trying to like weaponize these games against Nintendo. And by the way, this does need to be said. Her point is that like, oh, games at lower price points exist, but like, you know, just buy older games on Switch. You know, just there are lower price games on Nintendo Switch too. You know, like 70 is the standard now, but there's quite a few games that were like lower than that. I think what was the $50 game I was looking at? Well, anyway, like again, like there are like options, okay? But you were complaining about a premium Nintendo title that it's probably going to sell like, you know, 60 million units total, like for being more expensive than, you know, some budget knockoff title that nobody cares about, okay? Like that's just the reality of the situation. You are out of touch, okay?
Remnant 2, Claire Obscure,
No,
Baldur's
nobody
Gate
cares.
3, and
No. Baldur's Gate 3? Really? Like, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
that have real creative vision, some with massive campaigns, even some with fleshed out co-op systems, launching at or below $60. And many of these games are taking risks and really pushing boundaries, and somehow they're still finding a way to be more accessible. So when Nintendo drops a new console and leads with yet another Mario Kart at a higher price than
What? Yet another Mario Kart? It's been a decade since the last one! What are you talking about? Yet another Mario Kart? Oh, but Baldur's Gate 3 is a new IP. Like, you don't know anything what you're talking about. Like, oh man.
it doesn't feel like they're honoring their legacy. It feels like they're monetizing it, like they're using it against us.
Oh no! Oh no! The video game company is monetizing their business. Oh man, that's evil. Oh, that's cruel. How could Nintendo do this to us? How could they ask for money for a video game platform that I should just be given for free. No, 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 no. I'm a YouTuber, so I should be paid to play Nintendo games. They should be coming to me to give me money. It's just unbelievable.
Feels like a slap in the face. That stings pretty
What a
badly.
stupid bitch. Like,
So yes,
unbelievable.
the Switch 2 is a technical upgrade. 4K visuals, better battery, smoother performance, more storage. It's all technically better on paper, but it doesn't feel like a new era. It seems like a slightly fancier version of something that we already had. And for me personally, this realization of who Nintendo is not like a sudden moment of awakening. I've quietly been stepping back from them for a while now. And not because I stopped loving their games, but because I started seeing the patterns, the choices, and the shifts. And at this point,
No.
it's pretty clear that this Switch 2 release is not just about a new price tag or a genuine attempt at launching something new, it's just another step in the same pattern that's been repeating for years. Back in the day, this used to
What pattern? Like them like having success after success because they're like the most well-run business in the world or whatever. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh man, how dare Nintendo be successful?
be the company that took risks, that made magic, that redefined.
What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking? Like Bonanza is like a like. Look, okay, like they just put out Princess Peach Showtime. Okay, they just took this huge like gamble on this like making Peach like the star of her own game, and it did pay off, right? And people like you kind of refuse to see it, right? But Princess Peach Showtime was an example of Nintendo taking a huge risk at with their characters, and that's just the reality of it, isn't it? Like every time they do take a risk with something, whether it's like a remake of like Famicom Detective Club or like something new like Arms or Dragon Drive, like you have people like this sitting there just going, "Nah, that doesn't count." Like every single time. And the Switch 2 is a really good example of that because we have a lot of like new games right now, that like Mario Kart World is in of itself like kind of a risk, isn't it? Because like it deviated so much from like what made 8 so successful, right? Uh, so I don't really see her point. This idea that they don't take risks, that's just insane to me. And of course, like they're entering the film industry too, and like developing theme parks. Of course, like these people have to like ignore the obvious that Nintendo's constantly expanding and doing new things. Like it just, to me, it just screams like out of touch.
Entire genres and invited us into something truly special. But now, kind of just seems like they're relying on the fact that we'll show up no matter what. Even though they are so often very anti consumer, it's because they know.
Yeah, the anti-consumer thing needs to die. I've been saying this for a long time. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's just a buzzword to try and complain about Nintendo. In fact, I don't really see like anybody use the term outside of like Nintendo criticism is kind of my like kind of what I've noticed in regards to this. Like, it's just been like a buzzword to complain about Nintendo for the past several years.
Our nostalgia runs incredibly deep, and the more I've seen it, the harder it has been to unsee. Nintendo has mastered something I can only describe as weaponized nostalgia. They've turned our childhood memories into a soulless business model, and the part
What is she talking? Like weaponized nostalgia. Like that is just a giant cope. If that was true, like people like her who like emphasize so strongly that like, oh, I used to love Nintendo. I love their old stuff. Like they wouldn't be coming out and just like screaming to the rooftops about how like, oh man, it's not what I used to be. It's not what I want to see. Like if I don't see this like complaint at all. Like to me, like this is like someone who's not a Nintendo fan would treat people who are. Like this is the mentality they're in, is that like they think. I love this still image, by the way. She looks like such a goof. I I feel like this is just a giant cope to like try and devalue your own experiences with the brand, especially modern Nintendo consoles. This idea that like, oh man, like Nintendo used to be good, but now they've fallen off, and now you can't accept it. it's just some weird like cult like mentality, you know, and there's a reason it's so prevalent with these people is that like it's just something that like resonates with people who don't like Nintendo and hate everything they do.
part that really hurts is that it works. It worked on me for so long. I've been the Nintendo fangirl who's bought the remakes, re-releases, and updated ports, even though I knew deep down that what they were offering was not anything new. And looking back on it, I don't know. I guess it was because I didn't feel like I was buying a game. It felt like I was buying a memory. And Nintendo knows that. They know.
It's like Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask added a ton of features. Like, what is she talking about? Like, Master Quest was not in the original N64 version of Ocarina of Time. You know, it streamlined a lot of aspects. It added a new visual style. You know, it had like tutorials for the noobs. You know, like Majora's Mask 3D even added like fishing holes and stuff like that. Like, these were like these weren't complete like completely new games, but the idea that like these they didn't do anything that's disingenuous. That's not true at all.
That we remember how it felt to blast through alien worlds in Metroid Prime, or how it felt to spend hours raising your perfect Nintendog like it was your actual childhood pet. They know we feel these titles in a way that goes beyond gameplay, and they have perfected the art of re-releasing titles, sometimes only mildly updated, at full price, locking legacy content behind paywalls and subscriptions. And
Oh yeah, locking legacy content behind paywalls and subscriptions. Like that's kind of telling, isn't it? Like, oh, like old stuff should be free just because it's old. Like it's such a giant cope. It really is pathetic, seeing people like oh I don't like the Nintendo Switch Online service. I want the Virtual Console. Like when if you've been around as long as I have, like you saw the same people saying that they didn't like the Virtual Console and that it was too overpriced. Even though games were like $8. Like it's just a giant cope. No matter what happens, no matter what Nintendo does, no matter what they put out, no matter what the service is, what the pricing is, like you're going to see people like this complain and make videos about it. You can't take them seriously.
offering nostalgia not as a gift, but as a heartless transaction. And just a quick side note that I found out while I was writing on
Not as a gift. They're a corporation. They're a business. Like, what is this mentality? Like, oh, Nintendo isn't your friend. Like, no shit. Like, I'm not expecting a gift. I'm expecting a service. Like I want them to make good games and I'll pay them to do it. But it's just like, what is this mentality? Like anti-consumer. Like they use the term anti-consumer, and yet they don't seem to want to consume the product. Like that's the reoccurring aspect. Like, oh, I can't pay that. It's too much. Like, what?
Do you want to talk about Heartless? Because I just found out that Nintendo actually replaced the voice actress for Princess Peach after.
Yeah, no, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cared about Charles Martinet. Nobody cares about this. Like, she's a voice actress. Like, nobody cares. And by the way, if you were such a huge fan of Princess Peach, like, why weren't you coming out for Princess Peach Showtime? Where were you when she had that role? The best role she's ever had. Like, where were you with the release of that game? Like that's my go-to like a question when it comes to people like bringing this up, because like I know you weren't there when that game came out. Because I saw how that game was treated when it released, how everybody tried to brush it under the rug and ignore it. But like this is a really good example. Like she's a voice actress. Like this is perfectly normal.
18 years.
Keep in mind, like a ton of the other characters have been recast too, including Mario himself. So if anything, they kind of kept her on longer than the rest of the cast. Probably just for showtime. But like this just goes to show you just how these people like deliberately try to misrepresent like things that happen. To try and like push their weird angle that like, oh, Nintendo's mistreating its employees. Like,
And they didn't even tell her. She found out with the rest of the world when the new Mario Kart game came out. That's actually insane. But anyway, to get back on track, there's always been a huge difference between celebrating fan love and exploiting it. And for me, it seems like Nintendo has lived long enough to finally see themselves become the villain. So, moving on from the Switch to release, at some point I started looking at how Nintendo treats the people who love their games. And what I found honestly broke my heart a little bit.
Oh man, I can tell you, as the most toxic Nintendo fan on YouTube, Nintendo has never done anything to me. They've never copyright struck my videos. They've never taken down any of my projects. I've never been sued. You know why? Because I don't illicitly use their products for my own brand. I don't produce books about Super Mario, I don't know, beating Superman or something. It's just not going to happen, right? Because there's this little thing called copyrights. You can't just take the property of other people and use it for your own gain, right? And this is something that these individuals don't seem to understand when it comes to fan games and these kind of derivative projects like Palworld.
Because Nintendo doesn't just protect its legacy, they police it. Let's start with content creators. This is not
What? Yes. If anything, I think content creators should just be taken off YouTube. You should not be allowed to utilize Nintendo to monetize Nintendo content on your channels. You should not be able to make fan projects. You should not be able to make fan games. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And the fact that nobody seems to understand this basic concept is just ludicrous to me. And it really does need to be called out for what it is. It's just
nothing new. For many years now, Nintendo has been going after them. Streamers, YouTubers, musicians,
yep, based.
doing what honestly most other gaming companies celebrate, sharing their
Other gaming companies are completely reliant on these people to promote their brands and to keep them relevant. Nintendo does not need to do that. It's been really interesting kind of seeing how Sonic's fan base is entirely reliant on the online community. It has nothing to do with the games or the shows or the comics. It's entirely because of the weird online culture around Sonic, and that's something that Nintendo really wants to avoid, and rightfully so.
love for the brand and its IP. Somehow, I managed to kind of turn a blind eye to most of this until the Point Crow situation. He was a YouTuber who was making these really incredible Breath of the Wild mod videos. Fun.
Yeah. Mod videos. You are misrepresenting the product. Nintendo, Point Crow needed to be taken down.
Creative and totally original. And then one day, Nintendo.
It's not original. Okay, then why don't you make your own video game? You fucking soy cuck. What? Totally original? What are you talking about? You were using Nintendo software. This isn't complicated.
Struck 27 videos. No warning, no conversation, just straight up attacked. And it wasn't just.
Yeah, you should have been taken down. If anything, the entire channel should have been taken down and you should have been put on the street.
Breath of the Wild mods, it was any content that featured them, including other creators who had collaborated with him. It all got wiped out like a purge. And it made me pause because these weren't leaks and they weren't made to be malicious. It really was just fan content that was made out of love. And Nintendo really cracked
it. It was made out of love. It wasn't meant to exploit the game or its audience at all and to misrepresent the product. And we certainly don't attack, we certainly aren't attacking Nintendo for protecting their own brand. Okay. What is this mindset that Nintendo has to love me, but I can't respect their needs or their property or their games? It's like an abusive relationship. No, you have to do what we, the YouTuber, wants. It's just, what are you talking about?
Down on it like it was a threat. And this was not an isolated case. One that has really stuck with me was Gilvasunner. And if you didn't know, Gilvasunner's channel used to be one.
Yeah, the OSD guy. Yeah, the soundtrack extender guy who got taken down once Nintendo Music was put into production. Yep. So there was no reason for his channel to exist. It was competing directly with a new Nintendo service, and that is why it had to be taken down. He wasn't providing anything that Nintendo themselves weren't doing themselves. So why continue to allow this individual to profit off of their content, their material, right? This is a really blatant example of just how delusional the YouTube audience actually is, where they really think that ripping Nintendo soundtrack and then uploading it online is means that they should be able to profit off of it. But no, this guy is he's out on the street and he has to get a real job, and I don't feel sorry for him at all.
The only places online where you could find full Nintendo soundtracks. For years, Nintendo basically had these locked up very tight unless you were able to purchase a physical CD from Nintendo themselves. They weren't on Spotify, Apple Music, Nintendo's YouTube channel, no official platform to listen to any of it. And Gilva wasn't even trying to profit from this. There were no ads or monetization, just the original music uploaded for fans who wanted to relive the moments those songs came from. It was really a gift to the community. And then it was gone. Nintendo initially sent over 1,300 takedown notices, and after that, it was followed by another 2,200. The entire channel.
I feel like you have to take down people like this if like they're just gonna like turn around and try to play victim. Like, oh man, I didn't do anything wrong. Like you clearly did. Like just like
was essentially wiped out, and Gilva closed up shop. And I know
what are you talking about? Wiped out? They're just re-uploads of Nintendo soundtracks. You can find them for free on Nintendo Music. Like, what are you talking about? Like, wiped out? Like, Gil Versana, in his entire existence, has provided absolutely nothing of value to the Nintendo community. Nothing! So, like, you're gonna sit there and try and tell me that, like, oh, this was some big deal in the community. No! He wasn't!
Little bit dramatic, but that was kind of a big turning point for me when it came to how I viewed them. Just a little side note / confession, but as a former Disney adult who has learned the error of her ways, I feel pretty qualified to say this. Nintendo really is the Disney of gaming.
Absolutely not. Like, well, in the sense where, like, you know, they're this iconic brand, yeah, sure, but like the issue with this comparison is that like Disney's like has been falling off for a long time. Because of like, you know, the people who control it and like, you know, the commies and like, you know, everything they're doing. Like Nintendo still puts out high quality like engaging entertainment, you know, like they're so much better than Disney in that regard. It's kind of insane. Like, and we're going to see in the next decade or so that their parks and their movies are going to be way better than anything Disney is producing. We actually kind of already saw that already with the Mario movie. So like, to me, like the comparison, the way it's being made is like meant to put Nintendo in a negative light, but in reality, the difference is very palpable. You know, the fact of the matter is, like, Nintendo puts out significantly more quality content than Disney ever really has, honestly, and we are going to continue to see that going forward.
Wholesome on the surface, very full of magic and memories, but underneath, there's a very quiet, corporate, malicious control. And both companies know how to tug at your childhood heartstrings while handing out copyright strikes and ulterior motives on the side. At the time I was watching this unfold, the more I sat...
Who complains about Disney's copyright strikes? Like everything they do is perfectly reasonable as well. Like, it's just...
What happened to Gilva Center, the more it made me wonder, why is Nintendo's music so locked away to begin with? These soundtracks have some of the most iconic songs in gaming. They were emotional, timeless, and they were very deeply personal for so many of us. And like I said earlier, Animal Crossing Wild World was my comfort game. And yet, at the time, there was basically no way for me to go listen to it legally. It felt like Nintendo had locked away their history in a vault, and they just would not let anyone open it up. And from there, I started noticing so many other examples. Fan games getting shut down, community passion projects being wiped out, and listen, I get it, IP protection is legally within their right, but it all just felt like they were going out of their way to crack down on this, acting very aggressive.
Yeah. So the thing you have to understand about like Nintendo fan projects is that like for a period of time, like, you know, in the 2000s, before like, you know, this kind of stuff was like cracked down on, like it was really, really common for terminally online weirdos to act as if like these random fan projects were way better than anything Nintendo could make. You know, you still see this today with the Pokemon community, but like, you know, another Metroid 2 remake was like, you know, worshipped. It was hyped up. It was like, it was seen as this thing that Nintendo would never ever do. Like, oh, Nintendo will never ever go back and remake Metroid 2. And then they did. And what ended up happening was that like Metroid 2, Samus Returns was not as was downplayed by the community because like so many of them were so adamant that like another Metroid 2 remake was like so much better. And like obviously that's like fallen by the wayside now that like Metroid Dread has come out and like we're getting more Metroid games. But like, the fact of the matter is, like after that post Other M hiatus, Samus Returns really should have been this huge, glorious moment for Metroid fans. But this fan project completely killed all enthusiasm for that because of just like the fanboys' refusal to acknowledge like that Nintendo owns Metroid. It's just
cold and even heartless, especially when you look around at many other companies, Sega, Capcom, Xbox, PlayStation, even some indie studios, and you see them amplifying creators, lifting them up, letting the fans be a part of the legacy. But Nintendo doesn't really do that.
that's that's just a publicity thing. They're not. It's just a marketing tool for them. They're just kind of exploiting the community. Nintendo doesn't need to do that.
They continue to pull the plug again and again, and over time, I started wondering if maybe I had just been giving them the benefit of the doubt simply because I grew up loving them. So at this point, after the Gilfa Sunner takedown, I had already started to feel uneasy. The creator takedowns, the fan projects, the legacy content, it was all feeling a lot more controlling than caring. But the moment that truly stopped me in my tracks was when I heard the story of Gary Bowser. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know about any of this until I listened to an episode of Darknet Diaries, which, by the way, Jack does an
Okay, wow. Is she really gonna shill for like Gary Bowser? She's really gonna shill for a guy named Bowser. That's kind of crazy.
incredible job explaining all of this. I'll link it in the description for you. Now, I obviously knew at this point Nintendo could be very protective of their IP, but this was on a whole other level. Gary was a part of a group called Team Executor, and what they did was build.
Yeah, yeah. So they were like illicitly, modifying Nintendo's hardware illegally. Like again, what is so complicated to understand about this? Is that like you're not supposed to do this? Like I don't get why people act like this is some like like crazy thing that like.
Build and sell mod chips, little pieces of hardware that you could install in your Nintendo consoles to run homebrew apps, custom firmware, and yes, pirated games. But
Yes,
also
yes. So like it was primarily being used for piracy, and Nintendo needed to crack down on it. I don't see like again what is with these people acting as if pirates have like any kind of like legal grounds to stand on at all.
use those mods for stuff that wasn't necessarily piracy. They used it to run backups of games they already owned, or just experiment with the system for their own personal use. Things that were really never going to be available through Nintendo directly. Gary essentially became the
What? Hey, wait, what? Huh? What did the bench say?
People also use those mods for stuff that wasn't necessarily piracy. They used it to run backups of games they already owned, or just experiment with the system for their own personal use.
Backups for games they already own. Like, they have the cloud. What do you mean backups? They have, like, your games on Switch are, they're tied to your account. So if you, like, yeah, if you have like the subscription, like your save files are on the cloud, you can re-download games whenever you want. Like, what do you mean backups? Like, what is she talking about? So, like, I think she means that like ripping games from cartridges, but then like that basically constitutes piracy as well. Like, why is she trying to make it seem like this isn't legally dubious? Like, does she not understand like what she's actually describing here?
Things that were really never going to be available through Nintendo directly. Gary essentially became the fall guy for the entire organization, and Nintendo came down on him in a way that was very extreme. In 2020, Gary was arrested at gunpoint in the Dominican Republic and extradited to the US.
So they went to they went to like the Dominican Republic and then just arrested him, and now he's a servant to Nintendo. Like, oh man, amazing. So yeah, this is the inevitable fate of all pirates and all hardware modders and people who are trying to like circumvent Nintendo hardware. Like, yeah, you are gonna be dragged out by gunpoint and like be forced to give Nintendo like your wages will be garnished to further Nintendo's like crusade against pirates. This is the golden age of piracy is over, and this is a really strong testament to that.
By 2022, he'd been sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay $14.5 million in damages, $4.5 million in restitution, and then another $10 million from a civil suit. And after he got out early, he still owed all of it. And he started paying Nintendo back 25 to 30% of his monthly income, which at one point was just $25 a month from his prison library job. He'll basically be paying them for the rest of his life. When I heard that, my stomach dropped. I genuinely felt heartbroken for him. Yes, whereas on
What?
the rest of the team.
Wait, what is she talking about? Like, I felt bad for him. Like, he's a pirate. Fuck him. Like, I don't understand. Like, I felt bad for him because Nintendo like came after him. Like, what?
Team were doing was illegal. And they did profit off of it, but Gary was just one man. And are we really saying the punishment fits the crime?
No, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do the same to all pirates. I think like, oh no, it's Alex should be like, should get the same treatment or whatever. I think everyone who bought a Steam Deck should just be arrested. Honestly, like that's my mentality. Like, yes, we should arrest more of these people.
Here, because whatever legal lines were crossed, this felt less like justice and more like hatred and wrath. And not just for what he did, but for daring to even touch Nintendo's closed system. And the part that really
Like, again, she's so upset about Nintendo like protecting their brand. Like that's what this comes down to is that like you can't just pirate Nintendo games, you can't just play them on PC, you can't just mod them. Like she is upset that Nintendo is protecting their business. And that's what this all boils down to. Like she is anti-business. It's just what a filthy commie.
got me with this is Nintendo tried to get Sony and Microsoft to back them up here, to join the lawsuit and make it a united front against piracy. Both companies said no. Both Sony and
Yeah, because like Sony and Microsoft know that without piracy, they can't possibly compete with Nintendo. Like the giant cope, like for this entire console generation, is that like, oh, I can just play Nintendo games on my PC. Like they know that piracy is primarily impacts Nintendo consoles and its games, and so they're not going to like defend them on this front. But anyway.
Xbox, billion-dollar publishers in their own right, refused to be a part of it. Even they seemed to think that it was too far. And again, I am not here to outright defend piracy, really. There's a whole
Yes, you are,
to be had
bitch.
about access, preservation, and ethics, but this felt incredibly cruel and predatory. Nintendo did not just want to stop Gary from what he was doing, they wanted to make him an example. And for me,
Yep, they did. Yep. And yeah, that's the fate of all pirates.
this was the defining moment when I knew Nintendo was no longer the company that I had loved for decades.
Notice how she's not saying anything about the games or about the hardware. She's just like trying to make you feel sympathy for a criminal, someone who really should have just been like fucked, like I have no sympathy at all. Like this video is just pure bullshit. It's just pure trash. Like who is she trying to fool? Like really?
Decades. And if you thought Gary Bowser's case was just a one-off or a legal overreach in a rare situation, it wasn't. Because not long after that, Nintendo set its sights on something much bigger and arguably much more telling. You might have already guessed it, but I'm talking about Palworld. You probably remember.
Oh no, the giant coat. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. She's gonna show for Palworld. If this man, I can't wait until like Nintendo wins the lawsuit and these people have to take like a big fat L, because I am just so sick of seeing these people like try and pretend this game is like original or that like it's like somehow like some new, fresh, exciting take on Pokemon. It's not. This has been like one of the most this I think will go down as like one of the most embarrassing moments of the decade. Like real talk, like this is like absolute cringe personified. Like just the refusal from like the Pal Bros to like acknowledge that Palworld is derivative from the like of Pokemon. Like I don't understand like just this. Look at that smug face. She's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get so many views from this video. Like,
A very weird, chaotic blend of Pokemon-style creature collecting and open-world survival mechanics. It was very messy, it was wild, but it was so much fun. People were very obsessed, myself included, and yes, come on, it clearly was inspired by Pokemon. That's not a secret. You could throw a spear, you could collect little pals, you ride them, you battle them. It was Pokemon adjacent, absolutely. But here's the thing. It wasn't a copy. The characters were different.
Yes, it was the cop. Yeah, they copied mechanics from Pokemon. Like this is pretty explicit. If you actually play Pokemon, like you would know this right off the bat. Like it's pretty apparent, honestly. Like and it's very embarrassing how like so many people like try and religiously say it's like something completely different when it's not. But anyway.
The art direction, tone, many mechanics were different. It took a very familiar genre and gave it a bold, slightly unhinged twist. And for the first time in years, fans were saying, why doesn't Nintendo try stuff like this? Instead of taking that feedback in stride.
What? Because Pokemon isn't that kind of unhinged brand. It really emphasizes the wholesome nature of like uh Pokemon wants to go for a more wholesome like branding, and that's worked out really well for them. Like Palworld is like tailor made for like terminally online internet weirdos, right? Like who are just unhinged and like legit want to see Pokemon as slaves and shit like that. It just has no real appeal in the real world, essentially. Like people don't actually like Palworld for what it is. They like it because it's like such a blatant knockoff of Pokemon.
Instead of rising to the challenge, listening, learning, evolving, Nintendo did what they've been doing for.
Well, like the thing is though, like Palworld was never ever 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 competitive with Pokemon. Like so many people like try and act like it was some huge hit, but it really wasn't, and it hasn't maintained its relevancy. While Nintendo's put out like several Pokemon games since it came out. Like it's kind of crazy that like this game plagiarized Legends Arceus specifically, and Legends ZA is coming out this year. If that goes to show you just how quick like Nintendo's turnaround time with this stuff actually is.
For a while now. They sued. Together with the Pokemon Company, they filed a patent infringement lawsuit against the Palworld dev team. Not over character design, surprisingly, not even over branding, but over mechanics. Things
like yeah. The mechanics that they stole from Pokemon games. Yeah, so like people always say this, like, well, they didn't sue for character designs because, yeah, the plagiarism goes a lot deeper than that. Like, they straight up rip mechanics from Legends Arceus. And this is pretty obvious if you actually played Legends Arceus, but
throwing a pal spear to catch creatures, using them in combat, riding them across.
Yep. That is derivative. Yep.
The world. And because of all of this,
they're describing how the game literally works. I don't understand, like, what the big controversy about this is. It's just so dumb. And
World team had to actually go in and change all of those features. They stripped out mechanics that players loved, not because they were unethical, but because they simply couldn't defend themselves against.
What? They were unethical. Like again, they wouldn't. If their game was so like illegal proof, then like why couldn't they defend themselves? Like again, like like I remember when people were saying that Nintendo would never file a lawsuit, and like here we are, like a couple of years later, seeing people like this like just complain about it. It's just, yeah, this is just a cope
against a legal juggernaut. And just like with the Gary Bowser case, Nintendo tried to bring other companies into the fight. Sony and Microsoft were purportedly approached to back them again here, and again, they declined.
But no, PlayStation is straight up like shilling for Palworld. Xbox straight up like had it got it first. Like PlayStation even signed a deal with them to like produce an anime, which probably isn't going to go anywhere. But like, yeah, Sony and Microsoft were approached to help Nintendo. Yeah, they're not going to help them. Like, this isn't some, like, big... What are you talking about?
Going to be a part of it. And all of this says a lot, because this could have been a big moment for Nintendo. A wake-up call, an opportunity for them to ask, what is it that people are responding to? Why are they so excited about this? What can we learn from this? But instead of innovation, they chose litigation. And to me...
Pokemon takes like a lot influences from like other RPG franchises. I think Pokemon Sun and Moon. It took a lot of influences from Yokai Watch actually, with like the goofy animations, like the Z moves and stuff like that. Like they didn't go after Palworld because they saw it as a threat. They went after it because of the obvious plagiarism. I don't understand what's so like difficult to understand about this.
It was was not a stand for creativity or IP protection. The Pokemon formula has been around for literally 30 years. We all know what it is and where it comes from, and Palworld was not going to change that. No. This was Nintendo being a bully and swinging at anything that threatened the comfort of their complacency. They had an opportunity to grow, to evolve, to take advantage of someone already laying the groundwork for...
What do you... So, like, she's telling you that, like, Nintendo should have just ripped off Palworld? Like, that's just stupid. Like, again, like, what are you talking about? Like, Legends Arceus was already, like, a fresh new take on the Pokemon formula. So, like, she's going to try and tell you that, like, Palworld was some, like, innovative, like, new thing that Nintendo could have learned from. It's just silly.
For them, but instead, they chose violence. And after everything, the creator takedowns, the lawsuits, the silencing of innovation, you think maybe Nintendo would at least try to get...
Yeah, live-action Zelda fan film. Gee, I wonder if that's because they're producing their own movie. You know, like, I don't... Like...
Something right. Their legacy. I remember when Nintendo Online was first announced. It sounded like such a win, a way to legally revisit classic
What
titles.
are you talking about? Like, everyone was spurting out about that day one. I was the only person, you know, who was, like, defending Nintendo Switch Online at the time, you know. And, like, there's been, like, a huge uptick of interest in the service, like, over the years. But, like, yeah, there are still a lot of YouTubers, and I mean a lot of them, who are, like, constantly, like, downplaying this thing. It's embarrassing, but...
Play old favorites, dive back into the library that built up this brand. And at first, I was so hopeful. But the reality has been frustrating at best. Games get added randomly. Some months it's not much. Other months it's one obscure NES title no one really asked for. Entire consoles like Game Boy Advance or N64 still feel incomplete, and sometimes titles will just disappear without warning or explanation. They're just gone. And now, with the launch of the Switch 2, I thought maybe they would just try to clean things up a bit. GameCube has finally joined the retro lineup, which is very awesome. But they only added 3 games at launch. Wind Waker...
Wow, 3 games, you know? Like, I've been playing the only GameCube game I've been playing, like, day one is Soul Calibur 2, right? Like, I played, like, a little bit of Wind Waker, but I got to the ship and I stopped playing. So, like, you know, I've been playing Soul Calibur 2, and I've been putting all this time into it. You know, I've been going through Weapon Master mode. I played arcade mode with every single character. I've done all this stuff. Like, that game is not short, okay? Like, it takes a while to, like, do everything in Soul Calibur 2, especially when you're playing so many other games like I am. I love Soul Calibur 2, but I didn't need more than 3 games for GameCube, you know, because, like, all these games are pretty lengthy. They all have, like, so much going on. You know, there's other games coming out on the platform. Like, why exactly are so many people, like, complaining about, like, oh, there's not a whole lot on this service? Well, have you played every single game on there? Like, have you played everything you're interested in? Like, are you intimately familiar with every single game on the service? No? Then, like, why are you complaining? And that's kind of, like, my mentality on this. Like, there is no way that this broad has played through, like, all 3 of these games day one. Especially, oh, yeah. She doesn't even own a Switch 2. So she's played exactly none of them. And she's still going to turn around and, like, complain about the launch lineup anyway. Like, oh, there's not enough games. Like, we already have a lineup of launch window games that will probably be coming out throughout the year. You know, a lot of major titles, and, you know, we're probably going to get, like, you know, games from other studios as well. Like, what exactly is she complaining about? You know, the rate of uploads for Nintendo Switch Online is good enough. You know, like, what do you mean? Like, oh, not everything is on there. Yeah, well, no shit. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Soul Calibur 2 and F-Zero GX. Like, yeah, that's a cool trio, I guess, but it's also...
Yes! Like, 2 of those are 2 of my favorite games of all time! Like, you know, F-Zero GX I don't care about, but, like, Soul Calibur 2, like, and Wind Waker are huge deals, you know? Like, oh, that's a good trinity, I guess. Like, did you play these games at all? Like, the fact of the matter is, like, this is the first time Wind Waker has been released since Wind Waker HD on Wii U. So that by itself is a huge deal. You know, Soul Calibur 2 for GameCube, like, that's a huge deal. You know, F-Zero GX for certain people is a big deal. Like, what is she talking about? Like, oh, it's not enough. Like, To me, it just seems like you're coping and seething. Like it's just unbelievable.
Bare bones for a console with so many legendary titles. And yes, I know more are coming, but why launch with so few? Why not take the easy
Like, why launch with so few? Probably because they have actual games they want you to play. Like, what's the point of launching with like everything right from the get go? Like, they've demonstrated that like the release schedule works. You know, it keeps people invested, it keeps people subscribing, and yet like you still have people like seething about it. It's just like it doesn't make any sense.
win here and give your fans what they've been begging you for years. Beyond the catalog, the performance isn't always there either. Sometimes
No, not true, not true.
Some games have
Not true, not true at all. Like why are they still pushing this narrative? Like I don't like who are they trying to fool? People who don't use the service?
awkward control schemes, others don't support cloud saves. It doesn't really feel like a premium service. It feels like something Nintendo begrudgingly maintains, and definitely not something that they can be proud of. The thing is I've always wanted to support something like this. I actually am very happy to pay to play these games legally. I want to revisit the titles that shaped me in a clean, easy way, but Nintendo
Then why don't you have a Switch 2 then? Like
has made it so hard. It's like they're
it's how hard is it to pay for online like to pay $50 a year for Nintendo Switch Online? Like how is that difficult? Like how do I put my debit card information? Like how is that difficult? Like how is that hard? Like oh it's so hard. Like what are you talking about?
this treasure trove of nostalgia, this very beautiful, powerful legacy, and instead of sharing it or celebrating it with us, they keep it to themselves and withhold it. They kind of hold it over us like drugs, honestly, banking on the fact that we'll continue to
Like drugs? Yeah, I bet you're on a lot of drugs making this piece of shit video. Like, what the hell did I just watch? I'm done with Nintendo because they're mean to content creators. Like,
addicts who will be so happy for even the tiniest drop. It really is heartbreaking, but at this point, I'm not even really mad about it. I'm just tired. And
okay, why'd you make a video? If you're so tired, why don't you go to bed? Why don't you just delete your channel and never talk about this again? Like, stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
still a little bit sad. Now, again, to be clear, this video is not meant to shame anybody. If you bought the Switch 2 or you're a part of Nintendo Online and you're loving it, I think that's great. Truly, I am not here to steal joy away from anyone. This video really is just to talk about how I can't ignore.
I hate this fake positivity.
My relationship with Nintendo has changed over the years, and I don't love them anymore. Not the company.
I don't love them anymore.
And that's difficult.
I don't love you anymore. I want to break up. I want a divorce. Like, it's just like wow. I hate this fake niceness.
Because
Pisses me off.
up on these games. I spent summers chasing stars in Mario 64, winters decorating my Animal Crossing home, racing my siblings in Mario Kart, riding Epona across Hyrule Field like it was the most magical thing in the world. And for me, these were not just games. They were a part of my childhood. And that's why all of this hurts so much, because the company that once led with a full heart and love for gaming feels like it's running on autopilot, giving us the absolute bare minimum. Comfortable, safe, lazy, greedy. We're getting less and paying more. And look, the industry as a whole is a bit of a mess right now, but it's still fair for us to ask for better.
Yeah, like so why don't you make videos about PlayStation and Xbox instead of like using them to try and justify how like Nintendo is so much more evil than the competition? It's like yeah, that's a giant. So like again, if the industry is such a mess, like how does the Switch 2 stack up against like them? Like, and the answer is she doesn't want to address that because it's pretty apparent to everyone that like Switch is like significantly better than the competition, but like that goes against the narrative. So
to feel valued as customers, to want these companies to care. And for a long time, I really believed that Nintendo did, that they were different, that they stood for something. But now it's hard to see how that could still be true. I always joke that my relationship with Nintendo is super toxic because even after all of this, even after how I've seen how they treat their consumers and fans, part of me still hopes that they'll change because they could. It really would be so easy. If they wanted to, they could be the company that supports creators instead of silencing them, shares their legacy instead of locking it away, prioritizes joy over control, and evolves instead of punishing innovation. I really would love love nothing more than to fall back in love with them. But right now, it just seems like Nintendo is going to keep being Nintendo, just very stuck and too happy to stay that way. The love that I once had for them was so real, and the magic really mattered. But the company behind that magic, it feels further away than ever. If you made it to the end of this video, seriously, thank you so much, and I would love to hear your story. What made
Yeah, okay, that was unbelievably fake and gay. Okay. I just hate like the whole fake nicest of it all. Like, oh man, I used to love Nintendo, but because of their actions, I can't love them anymore. It's just such a giant cope. This was put together to be a YouTube video so people like Stuttering Craig can just sit there and go like, oh, she kind of has a point. It's not like it was when I was a kid. It's just like, come on, unbelievable. This is just embarrassing. It really is. I don't know who any of these people are, like any of these nobody YouTubers that like people prop up, but like it really needs to stop. It's just embarrassing kind of seeing what like people like this are trying to say about Switch 2 and like its early days. Because it really does need to be said, like, this thing is a massive success. It is very popular. Like, everyone who owns one loves one. It's just like these non-gamers who sit there and try and tell you that, like, oh, Nintendo was way better when I was a kid. It's just a giant, like, it's just a giant grift for YouTube views and attention. That's really all any of this really comes down to. And I do hope that like Nintendo fans start waking up and start like condemning these people for their actions because nothing they're saying makes any sense at all, and it's all just plain ridiculous.